Let's go back in time, or maybe forward in time, depending on what age you are watching this, where you woke up in a place not realizing just how crazy the prior night was. Maybe you went to a frat party and had a few too many Red's Hard Apple Ales and woke up on a front lawn. Maybe you snuck into an EDM festival with a plastic bottle filled with Fireball and woke up in a random hotel room. Or maybe you upped the ante and found your paths crossed with classic American moonshine and woke up at a friend of a friend's house. Whatever the scenario, it appears the developers at Bethesda Studios may have had similar experiences, if not more exaggerated, as they layered in a unique opportunity into the game and lore of Fallout when consuming the Nukacola moonshine crossover appropriately named Nukashine.
Now before we get into all the fun, sometimes ordinarily inaccessible locations where players may find themselves waking up after consuming copious amounts of this post-nuclear cocktail, some of these locations may sound familiar, as some of them are also mentioned in our over 100 hidden and unmarked locations in Fallout 76 vid that we just released. Which, by the way, if you haven't already subscribed, consider doing so as it helps us earn favor on YouTube's mysterious, ever-changing algorithm. It means a lot to Paris and I. Also, we love all the comments you leave and engaging with you all, since we have common interests. So drop a comment below and let us know the craziest place you've woken up in your heyday when getting wasted.
So, what is Nukashine? Nukashine was created by Lewis of the Eta Psi fraternity at Vault-Tec University in November 2076. And we know this from Lewis's personal log found in the ground floor bedroom of the Eta Psi house, beside a Nuka-Cola shaped lamp. But before we play the tape, can we all agree that this dude was quite the Nuka enthusiast?
Personal log, timestamp 1120761344. I shall formulate a high-proof distilled spirit with Nuka-Cola, the perfect beverage. It just needs a name. Nukahol? Nuka Mash? Nuka Brew? I'll get to that part later.
The Nukashine spirit itself is incredibly potent, causes blackouts, severe hangovers, and is potentially lethal, as a fellow Pi Mu fraternity found out during their eviction party, and I really hope I said that fraternity correctly. With remnants of this drink's notoriety found in the final initiation holotape, with the pledge stating,
It's been hours, days. Who the hell knows? I'm trapped, but starving, thirsty. Since everyone drank that goddamn drink. This was our final initiation. Me and my buddy Max over there locked in here for the party, and then we were golden. You know, just one last test. They passed out red cups at the end, so to celebrate. Called it Nukashine.
Lewis originally created Nukashine so he could afford a warehouse for his Nuka-Cola collection, and trust me when I say, he has quite the collection. But its popularity meant that chapter president Judy Lau and members of the wider Eta Psi fraternity became involved. Judy organized the creation of a speakeasy in the basement of Big Al's tattoo parlor, containing a lab and distillery in the back room. Speaking of which, if you have a sec, I'd recommend going there, as it may be one of the fancier locations in the game, resembling what I'd call a true speakeasy. It's also fun learning lore when navigating to this location, as you'll find out that Big Al himself had financial woes and didn't really care how the basement was being used at the time. He simply needed extra funds. So it was a mutualistic relationship between him and the collegiates. Back to Nukashine. A sugar-free version of Nukashine also exists, with the lack of sugar allowing the beverage to be consumed without any risk of blackouts. But who really enjoys sugar-free Nukashine? It's worth quickly noting that this high-proof distilled liquor that fresh Nukashine decreases the AP cost of sprinting by 80%, increases AP regeneration by 50%, and increases falling speed by 25% while inflicting 30 rads and causing the consumer to black out after the drink's duration. After blacking out, the consumer will find themselves in one of 36 random locations, while strength, endurance, and agility are reduced by 1 for 20 seconds. If only these same real-life hangovers only incurred that same 20-second reduction in stamina. Now that we understand the background of this liquid demon, let's delve into the 36 locations player may find themselves when guzzling Nukashine, where an empty bottle will be found next to the player after blacking out. Have you ever been so drunk you heard a familiar tune in the distance where a floating robot led the charge of a handful of rats in song and spirit? Perhaps gnomes and teddy bears alike sought refuge together with two, probably at one point drunk, skeletons in a trench surrounded by pre-war money. If that sounds all too familiar, that's because it can be found in Cranberry Bog just north of Superior Sunset Farm. A great place to wake up to if you drink too much shine, if you ask me. Right off Route 81 near the river, players can wake up to a familiar yet gruesome scene of a mutated dolphin whale creature next to a skeleton in blue on a beach boat. No, I'm not talking about the fact that this is the same environment piece from Fallout 4 in the Bay of Salem, where the exact same creature and skeleton can be found. But both environment sets pay respect to Jaws. At any rate, this wouldn't be my first choice for a location to wake up to, but it is a fun Easter egg. The third Blackout location on our list is the Kemen Hoop Shack. South of Camp McClintock, this location features a small shack up against a rock wall, highlighted by a basketball hoop on its eastern side. A remnant of a past competition between David and Trevor, where David dominated with a 51-4 victory, leading us to guess how or why Trevor was so terrible. The shack itself, however, is quite basic, sporting a dark couch inside and outside. A downhill wooden platform with 3 basketballs signifies a long-range shooting spot used in the contest. The site includes a chem station useful for crafting and other scattered junk items, including a rad bear and an empty bottle of, you guessed it, Nukashine. On our 4th night of the Bender Charade, we find ourselves at the Fairway Treehouse, north of the Dolly Sods Lookout and south of Gulper Lagoon, in the treacherous mire. The treehouse itself serves as a makeshift refuge previously occupied by a trio of wasteland survivors named Larry Richardson, Seth, and another person who is illiterate. The tree it occupies is enveloped by strangler vine. Access to the treehouse is a long walkway leading to an initial platform with an ammo box where an empty Nukashine awaits. West of Vault 96, you will find perhaps the best location on this list. Cue the music.
Hey, you're finally awake.
Behind the Red Rocket filling station, a gang of Apostyi lurk around the corner, surrounding your lair of slumber should you choose to partake in the Devil's Liquid or Nukashine. The Sledge trailer, along with the dirt bike track, is a place you really couldn't ask for more than what it has to offer. A cozy bed, a teddy bear, TV, and shelter from the irradiated sky producing plumes of pollution. The walk back home, however, wouldn't be the greatest. Game of Thrones is positioned just north of the Sunshine Meadows Industrial Farm. This site is not your typical post-apocalyptic setting, but rather a quirky Easter egg offering a snapshot of the bizarre and funny consequences of life in the wasteland. The Game of Thrones is of course referenced by the porcelain throne scene here. Perhaps these corpses got so shitty they died. It has been known to happen. Middle Mountain Lake sits in the Savage Divide just north of Middle Mountain Cabins. It's a spot where the memory blackout from chugging Nukashine might hit you once again. This lake is serene, set on a plateau, but it tells a sad tale. 2 guys, one a fisherman and the other a ranger by their outfits, tried their luck here. They ended up drunk, looking for adventure, and tragically drowned. Their skeletons lie as a warning against mixing shine with boating. Nowadays, scavengers have pitched a tent across the lake, always with a bottle of Nukashine inside, tempting fate or maybe just looking for a strong brew. Mountainside Cabin sits in the Savage Divide, near where the railroad tracks run between RNG Station and the White Spring Station, close to the Vantage. A fantastic location to have Nukashine wipe your memory from the night or nights before. This cabin's in pretty good shape for being out in the wild. Inside you've got basic furnishings, a table with an empty Nukashine bottle, chairs, a doorless fridge, a bed, stove, radio, and a bearskin rug. There's also some decayed art and a flag, and nearby there's an outhouse with a skeleton inside. And ah yes, another skeleton on another toilet. We couldn't expect anything less from our Bethesda team. North Mountain Oratory Camp is just north of North Mountain Lookout near Road 98. It's set up like a stage for speeches, complete with a podium, a US flag, and a skeleton of what looks like a speaker clutching a moonshine bottle and a 10mm pistol, hinting at a final toast to oblivion. Around him, more skeletons sprawl among chairs and spilled milk bottles. The scene suggests a grim tale. The speaker poisoned the milk with rat poison, handed it out, then took his own life. This just goes to show, don't always drink the Kool-Aid. Like many red rockets, the Flatwoods red rocket is decaying alongside its surroundings within the Flatwoods situated near the forest region of Appalachia. On the roof, the word "help" is spelled out using wooden planks. A small campsite is located here, as well as a skeleton of an unfortunate Nukashine user. Come to think of it, Nukashine seems to be becoming an epidemic at this point. The roof cannot be reached through normal means, but it is possible to wake up on top after drinking Nukashine and blacking out. The skeleton raft is located in the Maya region of the map. The nearest location is Valley Galleria. A fragment of a wall or floor is unknown how it fell in the middle of the river near the valley. A skeleton lies on the raft, surrounded by a cleaver, a box, 2 empty bottles of moonshine, an overturned cross, and a fearful animal on the table just meters away from the nearest shore. A second skeleton dangles under the bottom of this makeshift raft, and at the bottom lies an empty bottle of Nukashine, perhaps hinting that both unfortunate souls lost their lives to this yet again epidemic. Ever drink too much Nukashine and end up in a place you weren't too familiar with? If so, you may have woken up in a weird, tiny location fitting for a teddy bear, hence the teddy bear house. This is located atop a large, flat rock beneath the power pylon and a hill northeast of Camp McClintock. It is laid out like a typical living room, with 2 teddy bears watching a television from a couch, a nearby dresser with an empty bottle of Nukashine beneath it, and a metal bucket propping up a plunger. Apparently, even the teddy bears can't get enough of this stuff. North of the veiled Sundew Grove, in the Cranberry Bog region of the Appalachia, we find ourselves climbing stairs to enter a long-forgotten monorail car. Well, maybe not too long forgotten, since this deceased worker still has skin. But just down the way of this what used to be person is an empty bottle of shine and this intriguing teddy bear. Again, a teddy bear. Is the teddy bear the culprit of the situation? I'll keep this one simple. South of Vault 51, there is a volleyball area with a chalkboard showing 6-1 points kept on the board. Looks like a swell spot for college students to get shwasted at, as a Nukashine bottle can be found near the beds of 2 trucks in the vicinity. Cool spot. Ever wake up to a stranger in a wife beater claiming he needed more Nukashine because it hits hard? Maybe you just want to hit a few golf balls into the horizon. If so, the cliffs between West Virginia Lumber Co. and Vault 51 will feed your appetite, as a chill local scavenger seems more than happy to host you. Hell, he even has a spare cot next to his bedside to wake up to if you get too sloshed.
I need some more of that Nukashine. Last time it hit me harder than a train.
The Sickleman is Here hideout is east of Vault 76 in a testy area. In fact, behold the super mutants that kept intruding on me when I was hunting for this Nukashine location. Once those super mutants became a past tense, I attempted to unlock the vault here, but realized I had no bobby pins. Aside from the disappointment, this location is eerie, with words reading, "Sickleman is here," next to a couple skeletons on the floor, and a spoopy skeleton next to the text on the walls. My guess is the living here became skeletons due to the Nukashine and not the Sickleman. Located between Pleasant Valley Cabins and North Cutthroat Camp, the Cliffside Picnic appears to be one of the last areas on the map where a family was likely to have shared a fun moment together before perishing. Corpses can be found with a camera in hand, taking the photo of the landscape, enjoying the view while residing on a cliff, eating from a blue pail, and whilst pouring from a pitcher, making this location reminiscent of a classic 50s flick. Oh, and the Nukashine can be found in the picnic tables next to this lot, though I doubt it was the cause of deaths. The River Treehouse is located northwest of Valley Galleria on the central shores of the river. This location's central feature is a large tree in the water that has been overtaken by strangler vines. A system of wooden walkways spiral up the tree, with several boats, crates, and skeletons entrapped in its vines. On the first table encountered while going up the walkway, players will find a potential recipe. It's also plausible one would find themselves waking up here after a night of consuming copious amounts of Nukashine. The Barrel Burial is tucked away in the Savage Divide area, right next to Sugar Grove. Here you'll find a skeleton sprawled out on the ground, wearing what looks like a lab coat, and next to him there's a gas mask. It's also a reference to Breaking Bad when Walt buries a bunch of barrels full of money in the desert. But more importantly, for this video, it's a fun Easter egg to wake up to since Nukashine can be seen in the truck bed. One thing's for sure, Heisenberg and Jesse know how to party.
Yeah, bitch!
The guarded camp is found not too far from the Breaking Bad Easter egg. Here, players will find what looks to be a last stand of some sort where 2 deceased elect ladies can be found strewn across the campsite next to ammo and barricades. There's also a car with a corpse on the hood attempting to cross into the camp's spike strips. If there ever was a time to drink Nukashine, a final stand would be a worthy rationale. Next to the Moth Home or north of Cranberry Bog, you may awake to roaches feasting on the corpses of what appears to be a potential coven, denoted by the skull floating above 4 skeletons. Was this an intentional sacrifice between these 4 friends, or was Nukashine the culprit? You decide. The tightrope is perched upon the cliffs overlooking the mountainside bed and breakfast. Rumors have it there is an unfortunate soul at the bottom of the cliff from attempting a jaunt across this thread, and perhaps Nukashine gave them too much liquid courage. But we're not an ordinary soul, so let's see how we fare. Fuck yeah. Oh, and this place is also an unmarked location in case you were wondering. The Trappers Camp. What more is there to say except for the fact that they trap, well, everything. Even the things that don't need to be trapped, from bowling pins to birdhouses to humans and human heads. Rumor has it, Nukashine makes for an easy shit, which is why, if you're daring and bold, you too can test this theory at your own risk. And they even have 2-ply burnt trade magazines to use. This place is pure class. Ah yes, Johnson's Ace. Perhaps the most bullshit place you could wake up after a night of hard drinking. Not sure how you'd even find your way here alive, waking up incoherent considering you literally have to fight through a mob of occultists, head up multiple wooden stairs near cliffs, and assume you wouldn't cozy up to a few lovely poor souls pierced on planks with dynamite attached to them. Did I mention this place was bullshit? Aside from the scarecrow to help keep crows away from pecking out a dead man's innards, and aside from the view, I wouldn't recommend coming here. The cliffside overlook is just that. It's a cliff just north of the White Spring Golf Club. When stumbling upon the sad sap, you'll find countless bottles of beer, whiskey, and of course Nukashine to top it off. This gentleman perhaps lived out his last days watching a nuke go off into the horizon. And if the nuke didn't kill him, the mutated pups would. Nonetheless, we can conclude that the skeleton here was a drunkard until the end. The Charleston Overlook is a shack atop the hill in the Appalachia. The theme of a beer bottle next to a skeleton in his or her last days remains constant in 76, and this overlook is no exception. Inside the rundown shack, one will also find an empty Nukashine lying around. This place isn't as dreary as half the lot on this list because we actually see an NPC, or rather a settler colonist, maintaining this shack and doing some renovations. Not the worst place to wake up to, and not the best place to wake up to. West of Hemlock Holes is a makeshift concert, and here you can stumble across radiated fauna and a couple of raider psychos. If the psychos didn't drive you insane, then attempting to sit in this green chair for a cool shot would. And if that didn't drive you insane, then attempting a second time and having the server almost crash on you again would drive you insane. Alas, I gave up on this chair and found my front row seat to be a better point of view anyways. Oh, and yes, a Nukashine bottle can be found front and almost center on the stage of this cool venue. The Becker Farm windmill can be found north of a location titled, you guessed it, Becker Farm. Players can expect to find a psycho raider procuring the area along with a decent view on the elevated level of the windmill itself, alongside a workbench. Although, we're here to cover where the Nukashine is located, which of course is on this nightstand type of thing, it's more fun to find a floating paintbrush levitating next to our shine. For all our viewers who have played Elder Scrolls Oblivion, what do you think? Is this coincidence, or perhaps a tribute to the classic game? The abandoned pool is a fun place to explore because of the nonsense and shenanigans you'll find when waking up to this location. Aside from the feral ghouls, you can find an officer motorboating the skeleton, which always makes me chuckle. Kidding, he clearly had his baton out and was in the middle of a subtle fight. Inside the bathrooms, you can also find this little guy hanging out and causing mischief. If you mosey on over to the pool, you will find our personal quest item for this video, our melodious Nukashine. The Teddy Fear murder scene north of Autumnacre Cabin would spook even the most veteran of vault dwellers when waking up here. The bottle can be found near the lip of the rock adjacent to where the murder took place. After putting in the hours to film this video, I am convinced now more than ever that there is a Teddy Fear conspiracy. Him and his goons are always up to no good. What do you think? Should we make a video on it? West of the Sunnytop Station, the Cliffside Hangout is where all the cool kids hang out, obviously. It's weird that there is a fresh hot dog cooking next to two freshly deceased bodies, and that there's also a fresh ciggy in a skeleton's mouth, suggesting that perhaps this cool kid hangout had a sense of humor by placing the cigarette there in the first place. Multiple motorbikes can be found here next to ramps, and of course we can't forget about the epic view. Great place to wake up to after a Nuka hangover. Not much can be said about the Billboard Nukashine location north of the abandoned mine site called Kittery, except for jobs today or blood tomorrow. I think we know what option the world ended up choosing. A bit of a dreary location where a skeleton can be found next to an old lunch tray, and let's not forget about the shooting robots. Lots and lots of shooting robots. The Explosive Shrine is another fascinating unmarked location on this list. Situated on the eastern edge of Savage Divide, north of the National Isolated Radio Array, the shrine is positioned near a cliff where you just might find yourself waking up to. The layout of the Explosive Shrine is both simple and symbolically charged. At its center is a makeshift effigy, constructed from sticks and adorned with a carved pumpkin that holds a detonator box, suggesting either ritualistic approach or perhaps a warning against the dangers of explosives. This effigy is encircled by orange crates, each with an assortment of explosive ordnance like mines and grenades, and when looking at the effigy, on the right hand side near a tree, one will find an empty bottle of our alcoholic beverage of choice. The trench office is located underneath Route 65 within the Cranberry Bog region of the map. This is the most sophisticated place one would wake up to after a night of studying and going hard on the Nuka. When waking up here, I would advise caution as the neighbors that roam the street upstairs aren't always the friendliest. We saved the worst for last. Why? Because I used a data mine map to find these Nukashine locations, and amidst my journey, I noticed a Nukashine location where there was no Nukashine, at least that I could find. Not even Google nor Reddit mentioned anything about Nukashine here. This location honeydicked me, but maybe you'll have better luck, or have already had better luck. I didn't want to drink Nukashine 36 times to test this theory, but allegedly, this too is a location a player will wake up to. It's always fun to see developers have fun with unique experiences such as the Nukashine Blackouts, while players have also found fun ways to expand on this fun through events such as Nuked and Afraid, where participants created new characters and drank Nukashine outside Vault 76, then had to run all the way back to the vault, with the first person back winning a prize. If you made it to the end of this video, know you're loved and that we appreciate it. Remember guys, enjoy time is never wasted time, and we'll see you in the next.